is, a lot of work goes into what we do. So
I
it's
understand.
not for free.
I understand. I
Yeah.
understand.
And the fact of the matter
But
is that we have been able to attract the people. Listen, the people we have been able to attract is simply because of the work that we do, and therefore, if
right.
they are not prepared to contribute to that, then they won't have it. We do something else.
Okay.
You know what time? It's not a joke.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
So
have no problem subscribing. I'm just thinking that you're gonna limit
yeah, but subscription
who
is two
hear
dollars
the
now.
information.
But subscription is not a lot of money. That's two
No,
dollars.
it's not. It's not.
$2
It's
a month.
not. Yeah, I know.
I mean, you
But you
must.
know how it is. But neighbor, you know how it is. Some people, if they can get it free, they'll take it. But if they have to pay for it, they won't. They won't
Well,
take
then
it.
go where they can get it for free. You can't get this for free anywhere else. You can't go into KFC and the cashier that you come here to get a three-piece for free. Now, what happens? You're going to get
That's
that.
true. That's true.
You're mad. You can't go to the airport and tell the pilot say, boy, the lady at the gate collecting the ticket that you want a free ride. You know, we're gonna ask you for your ticket, ma'am. So show us your ticket and we'll accept you on the platform. Yeah.
Okay. Whatever you decide, neighbor, I'll be around.
Not me going to decide it. The listeners will. It's their program.
Okay, or whatever the majority says, I'll be around.
Yes, okay.
Uh-huh. All
Great,
right,
great.
neighbor. Take care. I'll be here listening, and you have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Elsie Loyal. Thank you. Hey, Caroline, morning. Since you left here, we've been on the attack. You need to come back and sort out the. You need to come back and sort out the program. Oh my goodness. Top of the morning to everybody. Cleveland Smith. Hi, how are you, sir? Is it Smith or Smith? Those of you who want to make a contribution, the Zelle account. Okay, let's see if we can post that and see if we can push through until 11 o'clock today. No, let's try. Let's start with $50. Can we have one of our listeners send $50 to push us through till 10, and then we get another amount for 11 o'clock? Can we start with that? Zelle account, please. Thank you. If you're in Canada, well, thank you, my brother. Is Harry on? Harry, are you on the line? Top of the morning to everybody. Yep. So there's your Zelle account. We're asking for somebody to put 20 and somebody put 30. Let's just do that and get the notes out of the way. Come on. Great morning to you. Great morning. So we had a call yesterday about the personal setback that this caller would have experienced as a result of the failed experiment of the previous administration. And so I'm going to tell you the multiplier effect of failed policies. When governments fail, you know, slavery was quite an injustice. Hi, Chops, how you doing? Wanna join? Slavery was quite an injustice, and I want to encapsulate how there was a period in Jamaica when slavery was reintroduced, systematic slavery. You're not talking about the chains. Yes? We're not talking about the chains of physical slavery. We're talking about systematic slavery. And I have prepared a monologue that will prove to you that slavery was reintroduced in the Jamaican society in the period of the 90s. And that it is very, very unfortunate. And I'm going to show you that wholeness is a deliverer. He's a deliverer. In the context of the argument of systemic slavery, economic chains were placed on the country. And when you chain your people economically, you see all this crime thing? Let me tell you this, listeners. You could restrict as much as you want. I'm going to have to talk. You see all this crime thing that we experience? It is to be laid squarely at the feet of the People's National Party. They are responsible for it. Anyway, I'm going to get back to that. I hope that they will free up the live this morning. Free up the live. Free up the live so that we can go through. Good morning, dear Chops.
Morning, sir. How are you doing?
I am not doing too well this morning, sir. I don't know what is happening to the platform, and I'm struggling to mount any challenge here. The restrictions have just been coming at me left, right, and center. What are we doing here, man?
But that happens when you speak truth to power, you know.
Yes?
Yes.
My God. I mean, all
Take it from me, I've been there.
Eh?
Take it from me, I've been there.
All week, this has been just ongoing. The minute we clear it, it comes back. It comes back like what Mr. Chops. But let's move on. Do you have a little time?
Yes, I have a few minutes. I should get out of here about 10 o'clock.
Chops, a caller on the program yesterday said that their personal life was set back by the People's National Party, and I am I'm somebody that thinks about these little statements. So I spent the whole morning looking at it. And what I found out, Chops, is that systemic slavery was reintroduced in the 90s because of the economic collapse of the country, the poor management of the opposition. Would you agree with me?
100%.
And would you agree with
100%.
and would you agree with me, Chops, that in that context, your leader Wholeness is a deliverer?
Of course. And I say it with no apology. If we had continued on the same path that we were on under the PNP, we would still be in shackles, if you ask me. It's a case study, and if any university students wants to do a PhD, it's a case study, and if any university students wants to do a PhD in studying and writing a paper, look here. Think about this for a second, neighbor. In the 1990s, a matter of fact, for the last 30 years, if you were to ask every have stymied our development and growth for decades. Yeah? And you know what is so disheartening is even with the level of achievement that what we've been able to achieve as a country, not just in economic growth, because the economic growth and development comes because we've been able to manage the thing properly. But just look at the reduction in crime. Look at where Jamaica were. Look at where we were 10 years ago. Triple murder, quadruple murder, right? Nothing under 1,400, 1,500. And I've always said to persons that the PNP has never been able to manage the country's affair properly. No. Neighbor, have you ever done the analysis on the crime numbers dating back from the 1980s?
I have. As a matter of fact, I have it up right now.
There you go.
I have it up right now, sir. And let me tell you something. I don't even like to call them out on the program because they break people's heart.
Yes.
No, they do, sir. When you can have it's almost 30,000 people were unalived in Jamaica over those 2 decades, you know, sir. 30,000, you know. You know what that does to the productive capacity of a country? And you know, most of them are men, sir.
And the problem is, neighbor, is that the PNP has failed to take responsibility for mismanaging the country's affairs and causing what you just read out a while ago.
Yeah, but there's a great ignorance though in the society, and I'm being respectful as to where we are coming from, where we are at. You know, Chops, if the typical Jamaican should really take a time to examine where we were and where we are at, maybe the PNP would never return to power.
And that's why I said to you, neighbor, and you've probably been watching me, because I've been at this social media campaign since 2013, 2014, thereabout. Yeah. And one of the things I've been always saying to people is that the truth about Jamaica, the issues that we have, must be told. And one of the things that I have always campaigned on, and that's why I've been labeled a radical, I've been labeled all kind of names. But one of the things I will never, ever, ever go back on is, I will never apologize for it, is educating the Jamaican people on what the PNP has done to this country. I will never apologize for it. And I spend thousands of hours explaining to people and highlighting what the PNP has done for us. Look here, in the 1990s, when we lost a whole generation, yeah, when the rest of the world was growing at least by 13 and 14 and 15%, and Jamaica took a step in the opposite direction. What if people understand that it took us 30 years to get back what we lost in the 1990s on FinSac?
Yeah.
What if people understand what took place in 1972 when we changed government and the PNP took office with an economy that was growing at 18.01%. And within 2 years, we depleted all that and we were cap in hand begging all over the world. What if people understand what that did?
Some context. This is where I think Jamaica's deliverance started. Here is it.
Thank you very much. The People's National Party has been in power for the last 18 and a half years. During that period, with the exception of the first 2 years, Jamaica has never achieved as much as 3% growth in any 1 year. Over that period, we have accumulated 460,000 persons who either can't find work or have given up trying to find work. During that period, we have accumulated a debt that is now costing the people of Jamaica $550 million every single day to service, more than we spend on health, education, security, and all the other government services combined. Over that period, we have seen the murder rate climb from 413 in 1988 to as much as 1,500. And during that period, we have seen our schools continue to graduate young men and young women barely able to read and write, rendered unemployable. Jamaica can't continue.
Mr. Chops, what Mr. Golin described there was a failed state.
Absolutely, it was. It was a failed state. And yesterday I had a discussion with some comrades. And I reminded them, because they wanted to explain to me that the fiscal rules were put in place by the People's National Party. And I had to take them back historically to under Bruce Golin with Audley Shaw, Dwight Nelson, and Dan Webby in the Ministry of Finance. They were the crafters of the fiscal policy that prevented us from continuing with the same reckless spending that we've been doing over the last 40 years. Now, let me tell you, we were a failed state.
So Bruce Golin inherited a failed state.
Absolutely. And Bruce Golin, while I think he's also been underrated too.
Oh, yes.
Make no mistake about it.
Oh, yes.
Actions
and remember, you had the world
Golin.
financial crisis on
Yes.
during this time.
Yes. So when you look at what Holness did during the pandemic and what he has been able to, the steady hands that he laid on the economy, it started from Bruce Golin. And I said we should never ever stop making sure that Bruce Golden's name is edged in the mind of the Jamaican people, because his period.
He stopped the slide.
Yes, he did. But the truth is, Andrew Holness has been able to do what no other JLP leader or even PNP leader has been able to do. The level of stability that he has managed to preside over, not just look at the party level. Not just the country, not just the economic level, Look at the party itself has been able to be stable. You don't have any rift within the party and all that good stuff. Save and except for when they had the challenge. And I think that solidified his position. And from then forward, he's been just excellent. Now, fast forward to what you just spoke about earlier, Neighbour, the murder rate. The Gleaner, in one of his headlines, stated that murders surge above 600.
Well, I heard Mr. Apta Fitzenley addressing that and pointing out the hypocrisy of that type of story.
It's laughable. It's
It's
laughable.
laughable too. Yeah.
But I'm happy that
Do
we
not
have programs like yours.
Murder surge above 600.
I mean, it's laughable. Neighbor,
Yeah, but
just
doesn't it speak to the type of society that we live in, sir? A society that represses truth and promotes a certain narrative that is false.
yes, and not just that. It tells how weak we are if we're not able to, at some point, put aside our political belief and deal with what is factual. And that's the biggest bone of contention I have with comrades generally in my quest for truth here, is that there comes a time when you have to put the politics to the side and deal with the reality that stares you in the face. The reality is that Jamaica today is a safer place than it has ever been in over 30 years.
What a fantastic news this is, Chops. Why is this not getting the type of push? And do you think that the party ought to raise the consciousness of Jamaicans to this? Because I think we should be having some series, some ads on TV, something, some discussion hosted by the party to look at Jamaica's trajectory in crime, for us to understand and appreciate how tremendous this is, and also the multiplier effect that it would have had on the society.
Let me tell you, I remember having a discussion in 2017 with Robert Nestor Morgan on my platform at the time. And on that platform, we spoke about the effect of crime. At the time, I think Nestor Morgan was the communications person in the office of the Prime Minister. And what he brought down, and I'm unable to find the statistics now, but what he brought down for us was the effect of crime on the economy, and the cost on the health system and the overall country. And what he was able to point out to us was, and he had a number to it as to how much money it is costing us per individual who shows up at the emergency room for gunshot wounds. Yeah. I heard a report somewhere yesterday that Dr. Frey in Montego Bay is stating that Cornwall Regional now has available bed space simply because of the high reduction in murders. Remember, St. James, neighbor. St. James was the ground zero for murder. I don't know if you remember.
You bet I remember, sir. Absolutely.
And for persons to know, pay scant regards to the numbers. How can you now tell me that places like Montego Bay is not safer? Huh? When there was a time when people walk all the way to the airport to shoot people. You remember that?
Wow.
And that has changed.
Yeah. No, so in reality, Bill Clark was correct that we were in a failed state. Mr. Golding said almost 500,000 people gave up finding jobs in us, Chop, which means that these people were hopeless.
The only reason why we were not officially declared a failed state by the United Nations was simply because we were still able to maintain some semblance of normalcy as it relates to the collection of revenue and taxes and all that good stuff. And while that was happening, there was a groundswell of extortion that if had continued for any prolonged period of time, you could very well get